The test only has one of each of these on there, so when G and H are the same problem, same kind of problem, the test will only have one of those. Let's see what we got. We have a parabola, then a vertex at 4, 5. And a focus at 4, 7. Tell me what that tells you about your parabola. If this is your vertex, and that is your focus, what does that tell me? It opens up. Now, remember that the equation, we haven't looked at one of these in a while, but the equation of parabola has two parentheses. One of them squared, and the other one has a number in front of it. Okay, so what is the fact that it opens up? Tell me.
It's gonna be
It's going to be x squared. You have that little list of rules I gave you when we first did this. You need to go back and review those little rules about how parabolas open. So the x is going to be squared. And since it opens up, whatever this number is going to be positive. Right? Now I know the vertex, so I can plug that in. So my vertex is x minus 4, y minus 5. And the only thing I don't have is this number. But remember, that number is 4p. Let's take really careful notes. That number is 4p. P is this. P is how far apart the vertex and the focus are. So what is P?
2.
2. So if P is 2, what is 4P? 8. And there's your equation. We're done. That's all there is to it. The second one is very similar, but pay attention. We have a focus at 2, -6. And a directrix at y equals -2. Now, this is not the vertex. That's the focus. And what do we know about the focus of a parabola? Where is it? Inside, yeah, in between the branches of the parabola. So this guy has to be inside the curve. So if this is the directrix right here, and this is the focus, doesn't this have to open down? Which means it is also an x squared, but that number is going to be negative because down is a negative. Up and down is x squared. This is not the vertex. This is the vertex. Can we find the vertex? Don't we know it's right in line with the
2, -4.
focus? What is it?
2, -4.
She says it's 2, -4. I think she's right. How did she know that? Well, it's halfway in between -2 and -6. So halfway in between -2 and -6 is -4. So x minus 2, y plus 4. This distance right here, that guy right there, that distance right there, is P. What is that distance? how far apart are my fingers? 2? So once again, if P is 2, then this number, which is 4P, has to be 8. But this time it's negative.
Don't you not toy with the negatives until you just put it in? Because you don't want like mess up the
Well, I put it in there right away because I saw my parabola was opening down.
yeah.
But it doesn't matter, as long as you get it in there, it doesn't matter when you put it in there. Alright. Now we got all these problems where we have to find stuff. Okay, test only has 8 questions. That's it. 4 like we've done so far, and now we're gonna do the other 4. So here we go, find the center and radius. Okay, we're all taking really careful notes. Who remembers how to do this? Put the x's together and the y's together. So x squared plus 8x plus blank plus y squared minus 4y plus blank, and move that 6 over. There you go. Alright, now what? So half of 8 is 4, squared is 16, both sides. Half of 4 is 2, squared is 4, both sides. Now, you did that, what you just did, so that you could write these 2 groups as a parentheses squared. That's your job. So what parentheses is this one? X plus 4. There's no minuses in there. Don't put a minus in there. Now this one's going to get a minus. This is going to be y minus 2. And that's going to add up to 22 or 26. Is that right? 26?
Yep.
And you're going to have a calculator to help you, so don't worry about the arithmetic. Your job was to find the center and the radius. Do we know it now? Yep. Where's the center? -4, 2. And what's your radius? Square root of 26. Perfect. Remember, this number right here is r squared. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Number 3. We have the equation 24x plus 6, y minus 1 squared. This is a parabola. And if you were paying attention just a very few minutes ago, we know this number right here is 4p. So p is going to be 6 in this problem. Now that isn't one of the blanks, so don't be filling that in, but we're going to need that. What blanks can we fill in right now? The vertex is -6, 1. And what is my focal width? The very last blank there says FW. What is my
24.
focal width? 24. Okay, now, which way is this guy open? I need to find my focus and my directrix. I know I'm going to use this number to do that, but I can't do it until I know which way it opens. So it's a y squared, positive.
To the right.
What's that? That's a right. So there's my axis of symmetry. And my focus is going to be in there somewhere. How far is it from here to here? Well, it's P. So what's P?
6.
So I'm gonna go ahead 6, and I think I'm gonna be at 0, 1. Does that seem right? And if I went that way 6, for my focus, I'm going to go this way 6 for my directrix. And what would be the equation of that line if I backed up 6?
X equals -12.
X equals -12. We started at -6 and backed up 6. That puts us at -12. All right, that one's done. We're taking really careful notes. We're not just writing down the answers. That will not help us. Okay, what do I have here? Looks like I have an ellipse. Okay, where's my center? That, everybody gets that, right? Nobody's gonna miss that. What's your center? 3, -1. And everybody ought to get the vertices right too, because the vertices are just those things that you're gonna go up and out. So what does this tell me? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will have a grid or grid paper. So you can count. But I went forward and backward 6 from my center. And why did I go forward and backward? Because that is under the X. All right. Now, what does that 1 tell me? Up and down 1. Remember, you take the square root of that number, and that's how far you move. This obviously is our major axis because it's the longest. How long is it? 12, 6 and 6. This is our minor axis because it's the shortest. So how long is it? 2, up 1, down 1. So the only thing left in this list is to find our foci. And they are going to be on the major axis. Here's the major axis. They're going to be out here somewhere. And I will know where they are if I know how far I have to go. In an ellipse, how do I figure out how far I have to go?
You subtract.
Subtract the denominator. So that distance is going to be the square root of 35. Now that does not reduce. It's not like the square root of 25, which would be 5. So I just have to keep it the square root of 35, and I am going to add it and subtract it to what? X. Why am I going to add it and subtract it to my X? Because I am moving in the X direction. So this point right here is 3 plus root 35, comma, -1. And this one over here is 3 minus root 35, comma. I find my distance by subtracting my denominators and taking the square root. Then I add and subtract that distance, in this case to the X, because I'm going sideways. If I were going up and down, I would add it and subtract it to the Y. All right, last one on this practice test. This test is really short, only 8 questions. All right, here we go. This is a hyperbola. And everything actually is gonna start pretty much like what we just did. Where's the center? 1, 2. And what does that 4 right there tell me to do? Same thing it told me to do over here. 2 right and left. And the 16, up and down 4. Now here's where it's different. What do? I don't make an oval, I make a rectangle. Through those points, follow your grid lines. You don't have them on this paper, but you will. Follow your grid lines. Make the box. These are the asymptotes, and you're gonna find those in a minute. You're gonna find those equations in a minute. First, I need to draw in my curve. Remember, you have options here. It can be sideways or it can be up and down. So which do you think this one's going to be? It's going to be a sideways hyperbola or an up and down hyperbola?
Sideways.
How do we know it's going to be sideways? Axis first. So right here, the edge of my box, I'm going to draw out my branches of my hyperbola. These 2 points that touch the box, those are the vertices. So that's what goes in the V blank. These are the vertices. So here was my center, and when I went sideways, I counted 2. So if I count over 2, this one is at 3, 2, and negative 1, 2. And I know that's hard when it's not on a graph. But your test will have a grid for you, on graph paper. Those are the vertices. So right now, you filled in 2 things. You filled in your center, and you filled in your vertices. Now, if these are the vertices, then this is the transverse axis. Vertices transverse. How wide is this?
4.
4. So your transverse axis is 4. This other one, the up and down component of the box, that's your conjugate axis, and it is 8. Your foci are going to be on the transverse axis. I'm going to extend those lines a little bit. And they're going to be back here inside the parabola, or the individual curves. It's exactly like what you did over here. Exactly. Except one difference. What's the difference?
You add them.
To find that distance that I'm going to add and subtract, I add these and take the square root. So that is 4 plus 16, which is the square root of 20, which if you simplify is 2 radical 5. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to add 2 root 5 and subtract 2 root 5. Now, what am I going to add and subtract that from? I'm starting at the center, so I'm either adding it to the 1 or the 2. The 1. Because just like that problem, we are going sideways. So this point is 1 plus 2 root 5, comma 2. And this one is 1 minus 2 root 5, comma 2. Once you find your distance, you're either going to add it or subtract it from x and y, x or y. Scout?
Sorry, never mind.
Now, the hyperbola is the biggest one, it has the most stuff. We need to find the asymptotes. So the asymptotes are lines. So we're going to use our point slope form, which means we got to have the slope So when you built the box, you counted up how many?
4,
4. And over how many?
2,
So that's your slope. Your slope is 4 over 2, which is just 2. And actually, there's 2 asymptotes. One is plus 2 and one is minus 2. And what point am I going to put into my point slope form? Center. So y minus 2 equals 2, x minus 1, and y minus 2 equals negative 2, x minus 1. Remember, we are using our center always for everything. Okay? All right, so here we go. Second practice test. Write the equation of the circle with a center at -4, -2, and a radius of 10. Notice I didn't leave any space for work there because there's no work. What does the equation look like if I know the center and I know the radius? Gio?
Parentheses, x plus, or, yeah, plus 4 squared. Plus, parentheses, y plus 2, close parentheses, equals, 100.
Yep, because that number is always r squared. I keep writing that down. I hope you are writing that down. That number is always r squared when you write the equation of a circle. So since the radius is 10, that number is 100. All right, easy. Now, the next one is the same thing, so I'm going to be shooting for the same kind of equation, but the given information is different. I've got a diameter, and the endpoints are 2, 6 and -4, 8. So to write the equation, I need to know exactly what I just knew. I need the center and the radius. What's the center? How do I find the center? Add them and divide by 2. Thank you. We average. Guys, we did one of these on Friday. I asked you to take very careful notes. Refer back to those notes. You average. So we're going to add the x's. So 2 and -4. And then divide by 2. So what do I get?
-1, 7.
-1. Well, my x, I'll do one at a time. And then 6 plus 8 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. So there is your center. You add the x's, divide by 2. Erica, will you put your head up, please? Please put your head up, thank you. Add the x's and divide by 2. Add the y's and divide by 2. All right, so now I can do this part of my equation. X plus 1, y minus 7, right? That part's easy. Now I need either this distance or this distance. It doesn't matter. I need one of these distances because that's going to be the radius. Okay, who remembers how we did this? Or who can look at your notes and figure out how we did that? How did we find that radius? Distance formula. So 2 minus -1 and 6 minus 7. So x minus x, y minus y. So 2 minus -1 is what?
3,
3.
9,
X squared is 9.
plus 1,
6 minus 7 is
-1.
1 squared is 1. So my radius is the square root of 10. What number goes right here, guys?
10.
Radius squared, which is just going to be 10. radius is the square root of 10, then when you square that, you just get 10. Alright. Now I'm gonna come up with the equation of an ellipse. So an ellipse, a little note over to the side if you haven't already. An ellipse equation looks like this. That's what we need to fill in 4 numbers, parentheses numbers and denominator numbers. And what do we know?
Negative 2, negative
We know the center's 2, 3, so already we can do x minus 2, y minus 3. Right? That's easy. The major axis has a length of 12. The minor axis has a length of 4, and it is stretched horizontally. So that means the ellipse looks like this.
After the x is gonna be 36.
And if the major axis has a length of 12, that means we are counting back and forth 6, which means that number has to be a 36. It's very logical. We're gonna process one step at a time. The minor axis has a length of 4, which means we're going up and down 2, which means that number has to be a 4. Done. Okay, we're going to do another ellipse. Your test only has one of these on it. Let's get double practice in. So we've got same kind of equation. And the endpoints of the major axis are at negative 2, 1. And negative 2, negative 7. And the minor axis are 0, negative 3. So they gave me all of the vertices. That's what it looks like. Well, what do you know? From that, does that tell you anything? It actually tells you everything. Because if you, on your graph paper, this is gonna be easier to do, but if you draw in your vertices, or your axes, what's that point right there where they're gonna cross? That's gonna be the center, isn't it? And you need the center for up here. So that point is gonna be negative 2, negative 3. It's right in line with these, negative 2, right in line with these, negative 3. So x plus 2, y plus 3. Now I need my denominators. Well, look here. How far up and down did I count? 4. Which means under y must be a 16. Make sure you get the numbers under the right letters. We went up and down 4, so that's the y number. And then we went sideways 2. So this is a 4. Okay, this is the format for a hyperbola equation. This is what a hyperbola equation looks like. And I can't put in any letters yet because I have to figure out which way it opens, right? To know where my letters go. So, let's look at what we know, see if we can figure that out. The center's at 2, 4. Opens horizontally. So that means it opens like this. Remember, this is a hyperbola. RJ, you okay this morning? What does that tell me? That tells me some stuff. What does it tell me? X comes first, so x minus 2, y minus 4. I can go ahead and fill that in. Now, it says the transverse axis, which would be this one right here, that's my transverse axis, is 10. So that means I'm starting at my center, if I were graphing this, and I would go forward and backward 5. Which tells me what about my equation? 25 underneath x, because I'm going sideways. And then it says the conjugate axis, which would be this one. Remember, I got a box built in here. The conjugate axis is 6, which means I'm going up and down 3, which means that number is a 9. All right, we have another hyperbola. So it's something squared. Where do we notice? Transverse axis is 2, 3. And 2, 3, 2, 3. And 2, negative 5. Okay, wait a second. Does that give me any information? If the transverse axis is 2, 3, and 2, negative 5, that's transverse. Which way's my hyperbola open? Up and down. Okay, that's important. I need to know that. That's an important number. Okay, Ayrton, are you sick, honey? Leave your head up, okay? Okay, so, the picture looks like this. Those are the transverse axis, so those are the vertices. Since it opens up, I'm gonna put y first, up and down, put y first. Can I find my center from this information? Isn't my center going to be right in the middle of these two? So 3 and negative 5, you don't have graph paper, so you can just count. But if you want to, you can do the average thing. It's the middle, it's the average. So 3 and negative 5, the average would be negative 1. So 2, negative 1 is my center. Be careful. When you put 2, negative 1 into your equation, make sure the 2 is going with the x and the negative 1 is going with the y. How far is it from the center to a vertex here? How far up did I count or down? 4, which means under y is a 16. Now, the endpoints of the conjugate axis are at 0, negative 1, and 4, negative 1. So this is the conjugate axis. So if I went, well, how far did I go? From 2 to 4 is how far? 2. So that makes this number a 4. Alright, now we're back to where we started this morning. We're gonna write the equations of parabolas. So remember, parabolas have a squared parentheses and a blank parentheses. So that would be a good thing to write down in your notes so that you remember this is what a parabola looks like. And then for each problem, we're just gonna fill in what we know. So what do we know in this problem? We have a vertex at 6, -1. And a focus at -4, -1. Now, this is the vertex. So remember, that's like this point right here. Can you, if this is your focus, way over here is your focus. Did I get that in the right spot? That's far, far away. Which way does this thing have to open? Gotta open to the left. Because it wraps around that focus. Now, opening to the left tells me what about my equation?
Y comes first. so
Y
it's
is the
negative.
squared, and the number there is negative, because left is a negative. I know my vertex, so this, 1 goes with, -1 goes with the Y, and the 6 goes with the X.
-400.
This number is 4P. This is P. What's P?
40.
Well, P is 10.
Oh, yeah.
This is 10. So 4P is going to be 40. There's the equation of your parabola. Alright, one more. So it's a parabola, so it's going to have the same style of equation. Focus is at 1, 5. And directrix is x equals 3. Now be careful. This is the focus, not the vertex. That's the focus. Can you tell which way it opens? Josh is pointing to the left, and he's right. It opens to the left because it has to wrap around its focus and away from its directrix, so it's gonna look just like that, which means y is squared again, and that number is negative again. Can we find the vertex? That's what I need for these parentheses. Can I find my vertex? If Will Hughes back there nodding, yeah. Because it's gonna be halfway in between. So what point is gonna be halfway in between 1, 5 and x equals 3? 2, 5. You guys will figure that out on your own on test day. Maybe by counting, maybe by doing arithmetic, I don't know, it doesn't matter. but you have to figure out your vertex is a 2, 5, which means your X is 2 and your Y is 5. Now, the only thing left we need is this number right here, which is 4P. So look up here. P is this distance right here. How far is it from the focus to the vertex? What's that distance right there? 1. So if P is 1, then 4P is 4. P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. Okay. Here we go. We're gonna find the center and the radius. So we've already done one of these today. Who can remember what we need to do to find the center and the radius of this circle? Get the X's together and the Y's together. And leave blanks, because you're gonna be sticking in some new numbers. This time that number's already over there. If it's not, you need to move it, but it's already over there. So we're filling the blanks. Here we go. What's gonna go here? 4. And how did you get, you're right, how did you get 4? Half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. What's here? 9. Half of 3, or half of 6 is 3, squared is 9. So now we've got to write a parentheses for each of these. So what's gonna go here? X minus 2. 2 squared is 4, guys. X minus 2. This one's gonna be Y plus 3. And all that adds up to 14. So there's 2 blanks to fill in. Your center and your radius. What's your center? 2, negative 3. And what's your radius? Remember, this number is always r squared. So the radius is square root of 14. Perfect. Now, automatically, you're gonna get half credit on this problem. Because by looking at the equation, you can tell me 2 things. Where's my vertex? Negative 3, negative 1. Now, if you're not careful, you might miss that. You gotta have X first and Y second, always. You can also tell me that the focal width is 8. Now, to get the rest of it right, you need to know how to write things. So you look carefully at your equation, noticing that it's x squared and a positive 8 there. What does that mean about how it opens? Up. Now, why is that important? Well, that tells you then how to move to get your focus and your directrix. You're going to be moving up and down. That distance that you're moving up and down is P. And in the equation, 4P is 8, which means P is 2. So we're going to start right here at our vertex. I'm going to go up 2. So that will be my focus, -3, 1. I know it's hard without graph paper. If you went up 2 for your focus, you're gonna go down 2 for your directrix, and that's the line where y equals -3. If you are interested in practicing, you can always put these on another sheet of paper and do them again to make sure you have all of your details worked out. If you've been paying attention and you're at all engaged, you're gonna get 4 out of 5 here easily. Yes, what?
Directrix.
Down 2. We went up 2 to get focus, or down 2 from the, for the directrix. All right, here's an ellipse. Where's the center? Everybody gets this right. The center is 2, -1. Now we get our vertices. Everybody gets the vertices right because we're gonna count sideways 2 and up and down 3. So sideways 2. And up and down 3. So for my up and down vertices, I got 2, 2, and 2, -4. And for my sideways vertices, I got 0, -1, and 4, -1. All 4 of those are the vertices. So on your test, there'll be 4 ordered pairs there for you to fill in. All right, sideways 2, up and down 3, right? This is the longer direction, so that's my major axis. Major means longer. How long is my major axis? 6, up and down 3. This is my minor axis, and it is only 4. Sideways 2. Now the foci. Remember, in an ellipse, they are always on the major axis. So they're gonna be up and down. This distance right here is found how? How do I find the distance to go up and down for my focus? Subtract the denominators. So that's gonna be 9 minus 4, which is 35. Now, if it's a radical, I can't come up with like a plain number like 6 or something. So I start at my center, and I'm gonna add root 5 or subtract root 5. Now, am I adding it to the 2 or the -1? The -1. Why am I adding it to the -1? Because I am going up and down, and that's why. So this point right here is 2 comma -1 plus root 5. And this one is 2 comma -1 minus root 5. All right, we're gonna get our last problem here done, and then we'll stop. Got a hyperbola now. Oh, wait. We have a hyperbola now. We have a lot to find. We can do it. Okay, tell me what you know right off the bat about this guy. Where's the center? everybody catch that? The center is at 2, -3. I'm gonna count up and down 3 and sideways 2 and build my box. This is a hyperbola, so I am building the box. I'm gonna go ahead and draw in my asymptotes, my diagonals. And then I gotta figure out which way to draw this. This one's gonna be up and down, so right here at the edge of the box, just touching the box, that's a vertex, and this is a vertex. So what were those points again? I need to put those, they go into V blank. This point right here is the point 2, 0, and this one is 2, -6. I went up and down 3. Which, by the way, makes my transverse axis 6. And my conjugate axis is 4. Now, foci. How far is it, always from the center, always start at the center, how far is it in this problem? Square root of 13, 9 plus 4, square root of 13. Now you are going to add and subtract the square root of 13 to something. Always your center. Are you gonna add it to the 2 or to the -3?
-3.
So this point is going to be 2, -3 plus root 13. And this one's gonna be 2, -3 minus root 13.
Does it matter which order you write it in?
Not in the blanks. All right. I mean, it's gotta be X, Y. You can't be flipping those around.
No, I'm saying like the root 13 and the -3, because before you wrote it, like the root before the negative.
No, I never have. I never do. So you may have copied it wrong. If it's X, it's gonna be 2 plus root 13, but I never write that number first. You can, just make sure you got all your signs right. You absolutely can, but I did not. So you'll wanna double check that, make sure you copied it correctly. All right, last thing we need are our asymptotes. Okay, so I'm going to use my point slope form. I know my center is my point. What's my slope? Well, I counted up 3 and over 2. So y plus 3 equals 3/2 x minus 2. Or y plus 3 equals -3/2 x minus 2. And you may leave your equations like that. And that is that. Okay, so next time we'll do practice test 3 and whatever else practice you want to do.